The Presidential Guard, gendarmerie, and youth militia, helped by regional people, continued to kill at a high rate during the remainder of April and early May. The purpose was to assassinate each Tutsi in Rwanda. There was no opposition force to stop or restrain the atrocities, with the exception of the approaching rebel RPF army. The domestic opposition had already been beat, and Unamir had been told that they could only use force in self-defense. It was simple for Hutu to recognize and assault their Tutsi next-door neighbors in backwoods where Tutsi and Hutu lived side by side and families knew each other. In cities, where people were more confidential, recognition was assisted in by army and Interahamwe roadway stops. Everyone traveling through the roadway block was forced to show their country identity card, which suggested ethnic background, and any with Tutsi cards were killed instantly. Many Hutus were murdered for some reasons, including but not limited to said support for moderate opposition parties, being a reporter, or just having a Tutsi appearance. Countless carcasses were discarded in the Kagera River, which streamed into Lake Victoria and ran along Rwanda's northern border with Uganda. Customers refused to purchase fish taken in Lake Victoria because they hesitated of being polluted by breaking down remains, triggering significant damage to the Ugandan fishing sector. Before the bodies got in the lake, the Ugandan authorities dispatched teams to recuperate them from the Kagera River. In the north and east of the nation, the RPF was making modest but constant successes, putting a stop to the murders in each captured area. In the prefectures of Ruhengeri, Byumba, Kibungo, and Kigali, the genocide was successfully just stopped in April. In April, the massacres in the Akazu heartlands of western Ruhengeri and Gisenyi came to an end, since virtually all Tutsis had been killed. 500,000 Kibungo population moved over the bridge at Rusumo Falls into Tanzania in some days at the end of April, and were accommodated in UN camps basically controlled by deposed Hutu government leaders, with the previous prefect of Kibungo Prefecture in general authority. Killings continued in the remaining prefectures throughout May and June. Though they ended up being more subtle and periodic, most Tutsis had already passed away, and the interim government wanted to include the rising disorder by getting the general public to fight the RPF. As part of the French-led UN Operation Blue-Green, approximately 2,500 warriors got in southeastern Rwanda on June 23rd. Although the objective was meant to be humanitarian, the fighters were not able to save a ton of lives. The homicidal authorities freely invited the French, flying the French flag on their own automobiles, but butchered Tutsis who emerged from concealment searching for security. With the exception of the zone captured by Operation Blue-Green, the RPF finished their conquest of the nation in July. On 4 July, the RPF took Kigali, and on 18 July, Gisenyi and the remainder of the northwest. The massacre was over, but the Hutu people, as in Kibungo, ran away en masse across the border, this time into Zaire, joined by Bagasora and the other leaders. The later RPF administration asserts that 1,074,017 people were butchered in the genocide, with Tutsis accounting for 94% of the victims. Human Rights Watch, on the other hand, positioned the death toll at 507,000 people based upon on-the-ground research. The main figure isn't dependable, according to a 2020 seminar of the Journal of Genocide Research Study, because it overstates the number of Tutsi in Rwanda before the genocide. The scientists at the seminar approximated that 500,000 to 600,000 people passed away in the genocide, approximately two-thirds of Rwanda's Tutsis at the time. Countless widows, lots of whom have been raped, have tested positive for HIV. There were over 400,000 orphans, with almost 85,000 of them being forced to end up being family heads. An approximated 2 million Rwandans were displaced and ended up being refugees, most of whom were Hutu. In addition, 30% of the Pygmy Batwa were massacred.